All right, how's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at how to drive a manual transmission vehicle. One of the places we're going to start is just getting a feel for using that clutch. So contrary to popular belief, you can actually make the car move by just releasing the clutch with no throttle. You have to do it really slow, but it's a really good way to get a feel for how that clutch works, right? You can see it's a pretty long pedal travel as opposed to like your brake. So it's good to get a feel for how that works, and also finding that bite point. That's where the flywheel and the clutch disc start to meet, and that starts to connect the gearbox with the engine to make the car move. So what we're going to do is, while we're stopped, we're going to select first gear, push the clutch in first, put the car in first, and now I'm going to do with no throttle is just really slowly release the clutch. And as I release it, see the car starting to move? We're just starting to find that bite point. And now as I release it more, nice and slow, the car starts to move. Now the clutch is fully out and we're moving, right? So I didn't really need the gas there at all. You're not really going to drive like that on the street. It's not really efficient. As you can see, it takes a long time to start. So what you're going to do is keep the car in first gear, just like we are, but now I'm going to use the throttle. So that way we can get going at a little bit more of a normal speed. So I'm going to just give the car a little bit of throttle, not a lot, and do the same thing. Let the clutch out slow. I'm finding that bite point, going a little slower. Car's moving. Now I release it all the way. So it's really just feeling that bite point, feeling where that clutch disc and flywheel start to meet to make the car move. Right, so you notice there I shifted into second. Let's go over upshifting a little bit. So, come to a stop, and whenever you want to stop, just clutch in and stop. So what I'm going to want to do is just, like before, just start nice and slow. A little bit of throttle, release that clutch, find that bite point, let the clutch all the way out. And it's good to do this a couple of times just to get a feel for it before you venture out on the rear road. Right now I'm just in a quiet little neighborhood, not a big deal, not a lot of traffic. I got room to make mistakes and feel things out. But now if I want to upshift, right, so I accelerate, you can probably hear the car's revving pretty high, and we're only going 15 miles an hour, so that means it's time to shift up into second. So what I'm going to do, push the clutch all the way down, grab second gear, and then release the clutch. Now what I have to do during the shift is actually keep just a little bit of throttle on just to match the revs, because what's happening is now you're changing the gear ratio, so everything's turning at a different speed than the wheels, and that can cause a bit of a shock in the driveline. So what I'm going to do, if I want to shift up into third, I accelerate until the revs get high, clutch in, shift up into third, have a little bit of gas on. That makes the shift nice and smooth. And the same goes for downshifting, right? Now I have the wheels turning fast, but if I wanted to shift into a lower gear, everything's turning at a different speed. So in order to match those speeds of the driveline and the wheels, what I have to do is, there's two strategies for that. Number one is so say I want to shift down into second. If I grab second, if I just let the clutch out super slow, that gives the plates time to kind of match that speed. The difference with that is that's causing a lot of friction on your clutch. So over time, that's going to cause more wear. So the other way to do it is do what we call rev matching. So rev matching involves giving the throttle a quick blip, so that way the engine speed matches the road speed and the transmission speed. So if I want to shift down into second again, instead of just releasing the clutch, what I'm going to do is just flip the throttle, so now the engine is turning the same speed as the gearbox. Now you see that happens kind of quick, so you might want to drive for a little bit and get used to how everything works before you start doing that, but it's really very simple. So all I'm going to do is, as the stick is kind of passing through neutral and I'm just about to let the clutch out, I'm going to give it a blip. So I'll do it one more time, right? So, clutch in, blip the throttle, release the clutch. It's pretty quick. It takes a while to get a feel for it. So maybe drive around, get some miles under you first before you start trying this. But once you get good at it, that's going to be the way you're going to want to downshift. And then just to kind of show you what that all looks like at speed, just so you can kind of see the point you're trying to get to, I'm just going to drive for a minute and just observe my feet and just kind of watch what I do. So if I want to start, find that bite point, do it nice and quick, grab second, accelerate, grab third. Now I want to downshift, I'm going to slow down a little bit first, and now flip the throttle. So that's really just a basic overview of the basics of driving a manual transmission car. It's good to do this in kind of a crawl, walk, run style. So don't just jump in the car and start trying to blip the throttle downshift. Release the clutch a couple times without the gas, get a feel for how that works. Then just try starting and stopping. Then you can move into upshifting, and then you can move into downshifting. So ease into it. Try not to just jump in all at once. It'll make things a lot easier. But once you get it down, you get to drive a manual transmission car, which is, for all intents and purposes, a lot of fun.